The Life and Legacy of Henrietta Lacks. Introduction. In the annals of modern medicine, few stories are as compelling, complex, and ethically significant as that of Henrietta Lacks. A poor African-American woman from Virginia, Lacks unknowingly became one of the most important contributors to biomedical science in the 20th century. Her cancer cells, taken without her knowledge or consent, gave rise to the first immortal human cell line, known as HeLa cells. These cells have since been used in countless scientific breakthroughs, including the development of vaccines, cancer treatments, and gene mapping. Yet for decades, her identity remained hidden, and her family received neither recognition nor compensation. The story of Henrietta Lacks is not just about scientific progress. It is also about race, class, medical ethics, and the human cost of discovery. It forces us to confront difficult questions about consent, ownership of biological materials, and the responsibilities of the scientific community. This essay explores her life, the circumstances surrounding the creation of HeLa cells, their profound impact on science, and the ethical debates that continue to shape modern medicine. Early life and background. Henrietta Lacks was born Henrietta Pleasant on August 1, 1920 in Roanoke, Virginia. After her mother died in 1924, she was sent to live with her grandfather in Clover, Virginia, where she grew up in a rural tobacco farming community. Life in Clover was marked by poverty and hard labor, but also by strong family ties and community resilience. Henrietta married her cousin, David Day Lacks, and the couple eventually moved to Turner Station, a predominantly black community near Baltimore, Maryland. There, Day worked in a steel mill while Henrietta raised their 5 children. By all accounts, she was a lively, caring woman who loved dancing and dressing up. Her life, though modest, was full of warmth and connection. However, like many African Americans in the early 20th century, Henrietta faced systemic barriers in healthcare. Segregation, limited access to quality medical services, and many black patients were treated at underfunded facilities or segregated wards. This context is crucial to understanding the events that would later unfold. Diagnosis and treatment. In early 1951, Henrietta began experiencing severe abdominal pain and abnormal bleeding. Concerned, she sought treatment at Johns Hopkins Hospital, one of the few hospitals in the region that treated black patients at the time. Doctors diagnosed her with an aggressive form of cervical cancer. During her treatment, a surgeon took a small sample of her tumor tissue without informing her or obtaining her consent. At the time, this practice was common. Patients were rarely told that their tissues might be used for research. The tissue sample was sent to a laboratory run by George Otto Guy, who had been attempting to grow human cells in culture for years. Previous attempts had failed, as most cells died quickly outside the human body. However, Henrietta's cancer cells behaved differently. They not only survived, but thrived, doubling rapidly and continuing to grow indefinitely. These cells were labeled HeLa, derived from the first 2 letters of Henrietta Lacks' first and last names. What made them extraordinary was their immortality. They could divide endlessly under the right conditions, a property that had never been observed in human cells before. Henrietta herself did not live to see the impact of this discovery. Despite undergoing radiation treatments, her cancer spread rapidly, and she passed away on October 4, 1951, at the age of 31. The birth of HeLa cells. The creation of HeLa cells marked a turning point in biomedical research. For the first time, scientists had access to a reliable, renewable source of human cells that could be used for experimentation. This breakthrough enabled researchers to conduct experiments that were previously impossible. HeLa cells became the first immortal human cell line, and they were quickly distributed to laboratories around the world. Researchers used them to study cell behavior, test new drugs, and explore the mechanisms of disease. Their robustness and adaptability made them an invaluable tool in scientific inquiry. One of the earliest and most significant uses of HeLa cells was in the development of the polio vaccine by Jonas Salk. Scientists used HeLa cells to test the effectiveness of the vaccine, helping to ensure its safety and efficacy before widespread distribution. Over time, HeLa cells contributed to numerous other breakthroughs, including advances in cancer research, development of in vitro fertilization, IVF techniques, studies on the effects of radiation and toxins, mapping of the human genome, research on viruses, including HIV and COVID-19. HeLa cells have been sent into space to study the effects of zero gravity on human cells and have been instrumental in understanding how diseases spread and how treatments can be developed. Scientific impact. The impact of HeLa cells on science cannot be overstated. They have been cited in tens of thousands of scientific papers and have played a role in some of the most important medical advancements of the last century. Their use has allowed scientists to conduct controlled experiments on human cells, standardize laboratory procedures, accelerate drug development, improve understanding of cellular biology. HeLa cells also helped establish the field of cell culture, which is now a cornerstone of modern biology and medicine. Without them, many of the technologies and treatments we take for granted today might not exist. However, their widespread use also led to unexpected challenges. HeLa cells are so robust that they have contaminated other cell cultures, sometimes leading to flawed research results. This phenomenon forced scientists to develop stricter laboratory protocols and quality control measures. Ethical controversies. While the scientific contributions of HeLa cells are undeniable, the circumstances under which they were obtained raise serious ethical concerns. Henrietta Lacks was never informed that her cells were being used for research, nor did she give consent. Her family remained unaware of the existence of HeLa cells for more than 20 years. During that time, pharmaceutical companies and research institutions profited from the widespread use of her cells, while her family struggled financially and lacked access to adequate healthcare. This situation highlights issues of informed consent, patient autonomy, racial and socioeconomic inequality, ownership of biological materials. The case of Henrietta Lacks became a focal point in discussions about medical ethics, particularly in relation to marginalized communities. It exposed a history of exploitation and mistrust between the medical establishment and African American patients. The revelations about HeLa cells contributed to the development of modern ethical standards in research, including requirements for informed consent and oversight by institutional review boards, IRBs. These safeguards aim to protect patients and ensure that research is conducted responsibly. Recognition and legacy. For many years, Henrietta Lacks' identity was kept secret, and she was referred to only as Helen Lane or Helen Larson in scientific literature. It was not until the 1970s that her story began to emerge publicly. In 2010, the publication of The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks by Rebecca Skloot brought widespread attention to her life and legacy. The book became a bestseller and was later adapted into a film, helping to educate the public about her contributions and the ethical issues surrounding her case. In recent years, efforts have been made to honor Henrietta Lacks and acknowledge her role in scientific progress. These include memorials and plaques, scholarships in her name, recognition by scientific institutions, agreements granting her family some control over the use of HeLa cell data. In 2021, World Health Organization honored Henrietta Lacks for her contributions to global health, marking a significant step toward acknowledging her impact. Modern implications. The story of Henrietta Lacks continues to influence contemporary debates about bioethics and medical research. As technology advances, new questions arise about genetic data, privacy, and the commercialization of human tissues. Today, researchers must navigate complex ethical landscapes that balance scientific progress with respect for individual rights. The legacy of Henrietta Lacks serves as a reminder of the importance of transparency, accountability, and equity in research. Her story has also inspired greater efforts to include diverse populations in medical research and to address disparities in healthcare. By recognizing past injustices, the scientific community can work toward a more inclusive and ethical future. Chapter A. Conclusion. Henrietta Lacks' life was tragically short, but her impact on the world has been profound and enduring. Through the immortal HeLa cells, she has contributed to countless medical breakthroughs that have saved and improved millions of lives. Yet, her story is also a cautionary tale about the ethical responsibilities of science. It reminds us that progress should not come at the expense of human dignity, and that every individual deserves respect and recognition. As we continue to push the boundaries of medical research, the legacy of Henrietta Lacks challenges us to do so with compassion, integrity, and a commitment to justice. Her cells may be immortal, but so too is the lesson her story, Wakari Churi, was a lesson that will continue to shape the future of science and humanity.